talking right now. Okay, so hi, I'm Jamie Hering, as I said, and this is our Home Buying 101. And so you can see if anything goes wrong, I'm pretty tech savvy, but if like I pop out or the screen's not there, just let me know. But then we have special guests tonight. So it's not just me talking. You're going to hear from Brent Kenyon, who is a lender at the Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, and then LoMonaco of LoMonaco Law. All of us live in Lake County. We've worked together for years. Brent and I were saying this is our 5th buyer presentation that we've done this year, in the last 5 years. We do about one a year, but it's a great way for us to, kind of walk you through the process, because you can get a lot of information online, but it's not quite the same as hearing from someone who does it day in and day out. So as we said, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat, and then we'll stop at the end of each section and kind of talk about, any of your questions. Okay. So this is the topics that we're going to cover today. We're going to start off with starting the process, and then we'll go over, Brent will speak next on getting pre-approved. We'll talk about finding a home, crafting a strong offer, which is definitely something that's different this year and in last year than it has been in years past. And then we're going to talk about home inspection and attorney review, because Illinois is an attorney state. And that's when Lauren's going to talk. And then we'll talk about closing day and what to expect. Okay. So I think we talked about when we start the process, it is very much like running a race. And I'm not a runner. I joke that I only run if someone's chasing me. But it is I think I have someone trying to get in. So hold on one second as we talk. So we have, okay, hold on. I think I had a doorbell ring, which means that someone's trying to get in. All right, well, I think we're okay. Maybe it was something else. Okay, I think we're okay. I'll find out, I guess, if we're not here. So do my best. So how hot is this market? Let me go. And so this is just a little bit. We have, the suburbs are definitely the place to be in Illinois. Millennials are ready to make moves. Over 45 million home buyers are prepared to enter the market this year for millennials. Record home sale prices are up 2.9%. And actually, that's just nationally, but we are actually up higher. So in Lake County in the last year, we were up 14.5%. So if your average sales price in Lake County is $315,000, that means that's a $40,000 increase from last year at this time. So that is a big increase. So that's definitely something that we want to talk about, because the market is definitely in a different, in a different situation now than it was a year ago. And mortgage rates are on the rise. Brent, do you have any prediction what they will be towards the end of the year?
Probably somewhere in the 4% range.
Around 4%. And then last year, I think a lot of people locked in even possibly under 3%.
Yeah, a lot of sub two interest rates last year.
Yeah, so we have a lot there. So how hard is this market? Let me go to here. So low inventory plus more buyers equals a seller's market. So there's very few homes. They say homes are down about 25% this year from last year, according to the National Association of Realtors. So this just kind of paints the picture of like what we're looking at in terms of inventory. So it's not impossible. So this is just the best summary I've seen about this. I feel like people are trying to ding in, and if I was super great, I would know how to do it. But hold on, let me just make sure. I feel like it'd be a button if someone's in the waiting room. So I think I'm okay. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going and hope that I'm not avoiding anyone out there. Okay. So I lost it. I feel very not tech savvy right now. Okay. The musical chairs of real estate. So in a buyer's market, you have 6 chairs and only 5 people are playing. So everyone gets a chair. Everyone gets a house. In the seller's market, you have 4 chairs and 6 people playing. And so not everyone gets a house. So you have to fight, musical chair style, like elementary school in the 80s. And then today's market, you have 2 chairs, 123 players. I saw one that said the floor is on fire and one chair just got sold. So everyone is competing. We had an open house this weekend for a listing, and we had well over, we had probably about 25, 30 people who came through that open house. They had 7 offers and it sold for around $25,000 over asking. So that's saying something. Okay. So you want to buy a house. We're going to talk about the pre-approval process. Brent's going to talk about that. And I just want you to start thinking about what neighborhoods, what price range, and that'll kind of come with the pre-approval. And then how many bedrooms, bathrooms, how many garage spaces, and taxes. Those are all the main things. Like we'll ask, do you want a finished basement? Do you want a fireplace? What's on your list of like must-haves or would be nice? So you want to start thinking that you're probably going to find a house that's around 80% of that, which is great, but you're buying a house, you're buying a mortgage. There's a lot of parts to that puzzle or that, of that story. So you want to make sure you're not going to find probably not 100% of what you're looking for. So you definitely want to have your, like, what you need to look for and what you absolutely cannot live without. Like I wanted a first floor master, like that was on my list. I was not going to settle for that. So that's for you to kind of start talking and thinking about, like, where do you want to look? It's hard to look all over Lake County. You kind of need to focus in on small areas. Okay. Brent's going to talk about getting pre-approved. And as we're doing that, I have a short, this is how Brent feels. Like we're here to like make your dream, your money rain down on you and make your dreams come true. But this is a quick video about buying a home, the 10 commandments of buying a home. All right. So as Brent comes on, I'm just going to stop share really quick, make sure there's no one in the waiting room that I can't see, and then I'll share my screen in just 1 second. All right, Brent, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Brent Kenyon with Mutual Omaha Mortgage Company. And let's see, this is my 24th year in the mortgage industry. So I'm somewhat of a dinosaur. I've seen a lot over the years. I've helped thousands of families get into homes, and most importantly, stay in homes. That's really the most important thing that I do. I'm excited to have the chance to speak to everyone here because the buying process can be scary for individuals, but it's not scary for us. Jamie does a great job. Lauren does a great job. I feel I do a great job staying collaborative. And really, that's what this is. This is a collaboration, right? To make sure that we're all staying on top of everything to make the process go as smooth as possible. And so I think that's why we've all had great success over the years. I'm going to ask Jamie real quick. Do you want me to wait until you get the screens back up?
I got it right now. I just wanted to make sure no one was in that waiting room.
People are dying to come see this, right?
That's the case. So it's Tuesday night. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to like be here hanging out with us. Okay. There is about Brent. You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So common question I get all the time. What's the difference between getting pre-qualified and pre-approved, right? They're very, very different. When you are first starting to talk to a lender, there's that point where you're like, I don't really know that person, divulging a lot of personal information. A lot of people are hesitant to give out a lot of personal information. And so they just want to kind of talk through the process. They want to say things like, I've got this credit card, I've got this car payment, I've got student loan, I make above this. That's really kind of what a pre-qualification is, right? So it's based on the data that the borrower gives to the lender, okay? It's not factual, it's not for sure, right? Information. It's just, I think I want to do this. Here's some information, and let's see, can you get me qualified, right? So that's really what a pre-qualification is. It's not actual substance in terms of documentation, getting the pre-approved, which we're talking about. Okay, we will not take a quick, close look at your information to get you pre-qualified. Okay, but typically what I do is not a pre-qualification; it's actually a pre-approval. Okay, so Jamie, if you want to,
I got it. I'm on it. I'm on it.
A pre-approval is way more involved. Okay, that's where you go on, you actually complete an online application. You connect with me, we talk through the information that's put through there. I like to grab documentation like pay stubs, W-2s. We talk about down payment strategies, things like that. Credit on individuals.
Brent, can you talk a little louder?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Is this better?
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time hearing you. Yeah.
Okay. So let me know if this is better.
A little bit better. Yeah.
Usually people don't complain that I talk so
I've
fast.
never said that before to you before. Trust me.
So anyway, so getting pre-approved it's a deep dive, right? Now we're talking about actual income assets, down payment strategy, things that we're going to want to know, and you're going to want us to know in order to get you actually pre-approved to go out and start looking at things that actually fit within your budget. Makes sense. You know you're going to be qualified if you fall in love with a house that you walk into. We're going to make sure that you are approved for that house when you go in. Okay, so really pre-approved is the right way to go, because at the end of the day, we're really your advocates, right? We want to talk through all these obstacles you may have, or put some of these obstacles that you think you may have to bed, and say it's not an issue. And so really when you get pre-approved, that's almost like a conditional approval, because we've actually taken the documents, we've looked through them, and we know that we're using accurate information. And it gives you a leg up when you go out and start looking at homes. So pre-qualification, not a deep dive into your stuff. Pre-approved, that's really when you're serious about buying. You want to go through that pre-approval, or we can get you that letter that says, we've looked through the information and you are approved up to this time.
I do want to just to share, like if you have something on your credit that I don't see those credit reports, so that's just between you and Brent. I see the pre-approval, and if Brent will say, hey, they're pre-approved for X amount, what do you want me to put on the pre-approval? Because sometimes if you're pre-approved for a very large amount, and we're looking at a house that's 350, but you're pre-approved up to 500,000, we don't need to show our whole hand. Like we don't need to put 500,000 on the pre-approval. We can say, let's do 375, or, let's just give us some wiggle room. But so just know, but if there is something like on your credit, like I don't ever see that information, because I've had clients be like, I don't want you to see my finances. I'm like, that's between you and the lender. Like, I don't know. I just need the piece of paper that says you're pre-approved. So just so you know, like anything we all have, there's always something on everyone's credit. You're like, oh, why is that there? That's just between you and Brent, and your realtor does not know that information at all. And it's none of our business. Just wanted to verify.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, Jamie, because a lot of people, this is your private information, and you're as the lender to be your representative to try to securitize a mortgage. So that's a great point. Whether we're talking to the attorneys, whether we're talking to the realtors, that information is guarded between myself and the client. Okay, so that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up, Jamie. What we do is we will collaborate between the attorneys and the realtor. Hey, things are going great. Hey, we have an obstacle that we're trying to get over. We'll keep all the parties apprised to where we're at. But the actual in-depth information is always between me and the client. That's it. Still can't hear me, Rick?
No, you're kind of hard. You're like,
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you, Rick, for sharing.
Is this
Oh, that was
better?
better. Yeah, that's way better.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of give you a big fat face here. How about that?
Just getting really
We love
close.
it. We'll do it too, so you don't feel
You know, I'll
awkward.
just zoom in.
We'll all just do
All right,
this.
everyone zoom in so that way I'm not the only guy that looks like I'm 400 pounds. Just kidding. Okay, is this better? Rick,
Yeah,
if you can just
yeah,
give me
way
a
better.
yes on a
Mhm.
quick chat, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Want to make sure everyone can hear.
Yes, it's better.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Rick. Okay, so do I need to go back and talk about that again?
No, I think we could hear you and the
Yeah,
difference
it was just
between a
kinda breaking
pre-approval
up.
and pre-qual. We're good. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so a couple things about getting pre-approved. Let's prepare early, right? So you want to, the first step is always the hardest step, and that's to pick up the phone or reach out and start the conversation, right? We want to prepare early. I can't tell you the amount of phone calls that I get. They're saying, I know I'm not ready to buy, but I was told I kind of need to start this process, so on and so forth. And I'll say to them, well, why aren't you ready to buy? And they'll say things to me like, well, I've got $200,000 in student loan, or I've got $40,000 in credit card. That doesn't mean you're not qualified to buy. When we're looking at getting borrowers qualified, we're looking at the monthly payments. We're not looking at how much you owe the world, right? Because we want to make sure that the mortgage that we're about to loan is going to be secured, right? Because your income versus what you're obligated to pay in a monthly payment, right? It's in line so that it's affordable for you as the buyer, right? So a lot of times I get those calls and they're like, oh my God, we thought we wouldn't be ready to buy for a year. That's the conversation you want to have with the mortgage professional, right? To kind of talk through those points, okay? Start saving. You don't need 20% down payment. We've got programs that are as low as 3% down payments that are conventional loans. So there are conventional loans, there's FHA loans, there's VA loans for veterans. But typically, the lowest down payment that most people can do is 3%. 3% on 300,000 is $9,000. It's not an overly intimidating number for being able to save, right? So start saving so that you can get to a point where you're comfortable. Or again, going back to preparing early, have that conversation with me so that way we have a strategy. If you're looking to put down 20%, well, you should know why 20% makes sense to you, right? Versus 3% down where you may be comfortable with that dollar amount because it gets you into something that you feel is actually more within your taste or your purchase price that you've seen online or you've gone out and seen with Jamie, right? So that's the part about saving that you should talk through with the lender.
One thing, yeah, just real quick with and keep coming closer. You're kind of fading in and out, but with Brent mentioned a 3% down payment, and we get a lot of questions about PMI. And so PMI is private mortgage insurance. And so if you have less than 20% down payment, Brent, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, you're going to be paying PMI, which is a small monthly payment to that they use to insure your mortgage. So when I can calculate things, like I have different apps, it includes that normally, like automatically, if you don't have 20% down. But a lot of buyers, that's a common, what you said, Brent, is a common thing. Buyers will think you have to have 20% down and they'll think, I'll never get there. How am I going to have $60,000 saved? Well, it's not the case, but there is not a penalty, but there's protection for your mortgage with the PMI just because you have different requirements and different qualifications. So just know if you see that, if you see PMI, you can get rid of that once you have 20% down or enough equity in the home where you can refinance to get rid of that.
That's correct. So yeah, once you have a 20% equity stake in the home, you will not carry mortgage insurance on conventional loans. On FHA loans, you'll always have mortgage insurance. But again, that's why you want to talk to your mortgage professional so we can talk through those different points, because there are strategies that you want to have with your lender to make sure that you know what you're getting into right from the beginning and kind of what the plan of the future looks like, right? I mean, you're buying a home. You're not stuck in a home. You're buying a home that you want to either grow into or that you maybe want to upsize from, right? And those are all strategies that we're going to talk about kind of on those conversations, especially if you're a first-time homeowner. We really don't want to jump into that stuff. So, can you everyone still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Then I'm closer?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
good.
good.
It's very muffled. It's still very muffled. It seems like your microphone is got something covered over it.
Let me try this. Is this any better?
Mm,
No?
It's worse.
Is it really?
Yeah.
You just got to get your MacBook. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Is this any better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay. Well, it doesn't make any sense for me to talk if no one can hear me. So I can either try ringing in on a different computer, or if you think that this is fine, just let me know.
Well, let's flip to the next screen and then we can come back and see.
Yeah, if you want to skip to me, Jamie, we can always skip
Sure.
forward to me and then Brent can maybe join from an iPhone or something.
Okay. Well, and I can read through this list for you, Brent, too, because it's the same
Yeah.
list. So this is things like you're getting pre-approved. These are things that Brent tells you to have on hand at all times. So when you submit all your paperwork to the lender, these are the things you're going to need. 2 years of tax returns and W-2s. That number could go up if you're an independent contractor, correct? Right, Brent? We'll see what he goes. He'll come back. You need 6 months of bank statements. You can just download the PDF from your bank. You'll need a month of pay stubs, any trust, if you have a trust or you have a divorce decree or you're getting spousal support or you're getting child support, all of that gets added to the number of like your income in a way. So you want to make sure you have that. You'll need a copy of your driver's license on the day of closing. You need a copy of your driver's license. It is super important. You cannot close without that. So I've had clients forget and then they're like running home to get it.
It can be expired too, by the way. So if it's expired because of COVID and you couldn't renew it, that's fine. You just have to sign an affidavit at the closing saying it's only expired because of COVID and I actually have the right to renew it.
Cool. And then you'll need any self-employed documentation. So I'm an independent contractor. So I know like I had to have more data and more documentation for Brent when I got a loan. But just so you know, these are the things like when they say you need to get all your paperwork together to clear underwriting, these are the things you're going to need to clear underwriting. Because then the underwriter will look at everything and make sure. And one of those also things to look at is the appraisal. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next page. I feel like I'm going backwards. Okay, so finding a home. This is where I step in. I love my job. And so we have to find you a home. But the problem is like, there's a lot of homes right now. I looked in Lake County. There is 1,703 homes available. And then there's also 1,600 homes under contract. Last month, 1,300 homes in Lake County went under contract. So the market is definitely moving like nobody's business. And right now there's 330 homes in the private listing network. So that's kind of new. That started about 2 years ago. So when you see coming soon writers, or you see a coming soon ad on Instagram or Facebook, that home should be in the private listing network. And or if you see a note that says sold during processing, that means that home sold while in the private listing network. So this is my team down here. And I just wanted to show you, these are the agents who will help you find a house. So we have Sheena, Becky, Alex, Allison, that's me, Rosemary, Jackie, and Laura, there she is. I have Lauren on the screen and then Laura right there. And so they're all on my team. And then this is just a little bit about what we do. And so we help find homes. We are number 6 in Lake County. We are number 3 for Q4, number 1 in Round Lake and Grays Lake. I mean, I would say the proof is in the numbers. You want agents who are busy, but we have a lot of fun and we treat you like family. Like we're giving away Valentine's Day reservations and gift cards to all our, we have a private Facebook group for our clients and people who refer us. So like we're having contests. So we have free pie at Thanksgiving. We do free ice cream day at the Freeze. So I feel like we are part of a family. The most important part is this part down here, the 150 5-star reviews. Like that just means I feel like we're doing our job. Even though we sell a lot of houses, we are not transactional at all. Like we really wear our heart in our sleeve and we work really hard to make sure our clients find the house they want. So this is just another look at my team. And then we have the support staff down below. And so if you list a home with us, we have stagers who come in who make it look beautiful. We have social media people. Jenny's my transaction coordinator. Like we're a very tight family. So I'll talk more. We don't have to talk anymore about us, but I love my team. And then the other thing I wanted to say, and I have it up here, you see a QR code. Zenlist is kind of the new Z word. And so everyone talks about Zillow, but Zillow does not actually post any of the coming soon houses. So if you see a home that says, like it's Redfin does, we do Ad Properties, other brokerages do, but you'll see a coming soon. So if you scan with your phone, I know QR codes have had like the comeback of the century. And if you scan with your phone, that QR code, like you open up your camera, you scan it, you should know how to use a QR code, it'll pop up. That'll take you to the link for Zenlist, where then you can sign up on Zenlist. And that'll show you all the coming soon homes that you're looking for. So some of those homes that are not on the market yet, like you can get your foot in the door and see it and preview it. And that's a way for you to help, because some sellers want to put their house on the market, but they don't know where they're moving. So if you as a buyer can come in and be like, listen, I'm totally flexible. I'll give you the closing time you need. Just, pick me. And then the seller then can go out and look for their next house, knowing they have a buyer lined up. So definitely scan that code. If you haven't already, some of you are probably already set up on Zenlist, but Zenlist is really what all the brokerages are using right now to show you. So you can see, because you could also find rentals on Zenlist. If you're in the Wisconsin market, like I know Kathy on here, you're in the Wisconsin market, I may have to set you up on something else, but I can do that. Okay, next up is crafting a strong offer. So when we craft an offer, like, my goodness, you're competing against a lot of buyers. So here are things and I'll explain them, but here are things that we have seen this year that I haven't seen in years past. So you write your offer. Illinois has a 13-page contract. It's the same for everyone, whether you buy with us for sale by owner, we're going to use this 13-page contract. A few years ago, we would come in at like 95% of the asking price and be like, yeah, we'll settle around 97%. Okay, that's not the case. This year, if it's a house that like everyone wants, that's updated in a nice neighborhood, good location, you're coming in, if it's 300,000, you're coming in at 300,000. We can try lower, but then the agent is going to ask for highest and best if there's multiple offers. So if there's multiple offers, the agent's going to come back to all of us most of the time and say, we need your client's highest and best. So you can come in lower to begin with, which is not a bad idea, but then the agent's going to go, all right, I'm going to come back to you and say, Lauren, what's your highest and best? And she's going to go, I'll go up to 310. So then I go back to the agent. It's just verbal. And just say, Lauren's going to do 310. I could also say that Lauren's going to go as is, which means that she's going to still have a home inspection if she wants. Within the 5 business days with the attorney review, she could still cancel the offer. If she goes in and there's a dead body in the attic and she's like, I don't want this house, we can cancel it if the home inspection shows something. But other than that, you're not going to ask for repairs. So that's a way for a seller to feel more confident in your offer. We're seeing escalation clauses. So that means that you'll write up an addendum that says, I will pay $1,000 or any amount, it could be $1, over the other buyer's offer. So they would offer to 305,000. I'm going to pay 306,000. And you can put a cap on it to try to beat them. So that's another thing we're seeing. We're seeing rent backs where the seller doesn't know where to go because there's low inventory. So now the buyer will say, listen, I'll close on the house. So you're out of it. And I will rent it back to you for X amount of money for 30 days or 60 days. That's riskier Because I feel like with eviction issues, that's definitely like more of a gamble. But if you've talked with them and the attorneys write something up, you have some more security there. Flexible closing dates, kind of the same. I'll give you 30 days. I'll give you 60 days. Usually you can't lock in until 60 days before you're closing most of the time. So we don't want to, I don't like to drag it out too long. We have appraisal waivers. I'm sure Brent loves appraisal waivers, but basically you're saying if the house I bought the house for 300,000, but the appraiser comes in and says it's worth 275,000, I will bring a certain amount of money to that offer to sweeten the deal. So I might bring $10,000 of my own cash. It's not part of your down payment, extra to the closing table to make up the difference if it doesn't appraise. I think last year in the beginning, we had more appraisal issues. This year, we have an entire year of comps from 2021. So there should be fewer appraisal issues, but sometimes you just catch an appraiser on a bad day or someone who's rushed, and then you kind of have to have that. So we're seeing that. And sometimes we're seeing non-refundable earnest money where you'll say, I'm going to put down $5,000. And if I cancel this deal, you get to keep my $5,000. That's risky, but if you really love the house, you're going to put that money down anyway, but that just gives you can't really back out of it. Well, you can back out of it to an extent during that attorney review period, but you're going to give up your money. So that's another thing we do. So I have a whole bag of tricks, and my team has a whole bag of tricks of getting one thing I didn't put on there is writing a letter. That National Association of Realtors does not recommend writing a letter. However, people are humans. And so sometimes I have buyers who really want to write a letter. So sometimes sellers will say, we don't want any letters, but sometimes they do, they'll look at them and so I really ask the listing agent, would your seller consider a letter? Usually it's just like, hey, I've worked in Lake County for so long. I grew up in this neighborhood. My best friend lives down the street. I love it. I want to live on this block. And sometimes that does pull at the heartstrings a little bit. But according to the NAR, we shouldn't write letters because of fair housing issues. But I just want to leave that there. It didn't make my list, but it doesn't mean that I don't have people who do it every once in a while. Anything to add? Brent, you're on a new computer. And
Yeah.
Lauren, hopefully I can hear you. Oh no, you just have a bad Wi-Fi. Talk, Brent.
Can you not hear me?
That's better.
No, I can hear you now. You're good.
You're good.
Can you hear me loud? Here?
We're going to start back from the beginning. No, I'm just,
Yeah, right.
they're like, it's 50 minutes, lady, wrap it up.
Am I clear though?
Yeah, you're better.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So anything, well, I guess this kind of goes into Lauren's spiel, which is home inspection and attorney review. So let's go. What do we have up? So the home inspection, they go with a big magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass.
And they'll go through it. But you'll have a home inspection usually within 5 business days. Yeah. That's what the Illinois contract says. It's additional fee. It's not part of your closing costs. So you have to have that cash on hand to pay the home inspector. So just be prepared. We've had some people who are like, I don't have that cash on hand. Then I'm like, maybe not the time to buy a house. But you have to have the cash on hand. Usually it's it depends how big the house is, maybe $400 to $600, maybe more if it's bigger. They're going to ask you if you want to test for radon. Radon is a natural gas. It's in the air we breathe. What happens is that it gets trapped inside a house. And the EPA says that anything above 4.0 should be mitigated. So they'll do what's called a 48-hour radon test. They'll test the levels. And if it comes up higher than a 4.0, then we can ask the sellers to mitigate it, which is putting in basically a fan and a PVC pipe, and it gets rid of the radon in the air. Especially if homes have new windows, they're not drafty. And so that also kind of helps keep the air in the house. With as is deals, sometimes I'll put down we're as is except for radon. So that way we're not going to ask for the GFCIs to be fixed or the old furnace to be serviced. But if there's radon, which can run you about $1,700 to mitigate it, I would say on average, then we want to make sure that we can get that fixed and it's not on your dime. It's on the seller's dime. So that's a little bit about home inspection. But then, let me go backwards. And then Lauren is going to talk about attorney review in Illinois.
Yeah. So after
quick.
you guys have gone
yeah.
through all of
Lauren,
this
and
process.
real quick,
Yeah, go for it.
so real quick, just to kind of touch on what Jamie had just said. The one thing to keep in mind is the lenders do not need a copy of that home inspection.
Yeah.
That is for you as the buyers. Okay. You want to know that you're buying a solid home. But we as the lenders will never need a copy of that. So I'm going to let Lauren talk about that because obviously that's part of your conversation here. But for those listening, the inspection is done for you. It has nothing to do with the lender. We're going to do what's called the appraisal. And that's going to be our eyes and ears of what the actual content makeup of the house is. Okay. So totally two different things. Just want to make sure everyone understood that the home inspection is really more for you. It's not for the lender whatsoever. We do not need to see it. We don't require it. So that's up to the attorney to have that conversation. Sorry. Just want to make sure I
That's a
pointed
good
that out.
point.
No, it's definitely a good point. And I actually have a lot of lenders that say they don't want to see the home inspection report for a lot of reasons, because that home inspection report, a lot of these things, you guys are going to be close to 80, 90 pages long. They're going to list out every single detail of the home. If you send that to a lender, it could definitely impact their viewpoint on whether or not this house is worth what they're lending on and things like that. So the home inspection is for you. You should definitely share a copy of it with your agent, and you should definitely share a copy of it with your attorney. But after you guys have gone through all of this process, my role has definitely changed a lot as an attorney. So I've been doing this for about 10 years now. I started in 2012. And the last 2 years have just been insane. So by the time you guys get to me, you've already gone through that whole pre-approval process with Brent. So he's inspected all of your tax returns and your W-2s and all of that fun stuff and done all your credit inquiries. You've also probably seen 1,000 houses with Jamie, and you've put 25 offers in and one finally got accepted. So once you guys get to me, you already have a signed contract on a house that you are planning on buying. And like Jamie said, we are an attorney state, which means that you are not required to hire an attorney, but I would say around 97 to 98% in the Chicagoland area do hire attorneys to represent them throughout the transaction. We charge flat fees. They're relatively reasonable. Mine's $550 for the transaction. So you get a lot of legal protection for a very small amount of money in comparison to how much you're putting down. So what we do in that first 5 days is I'm going to get a copy of the contract, usually either from you or from Jamie. And it'll say like,
I always send it over first.
She does. Yeah. Jamie's
we have
awesome.
a good system. Yeah.
Yeah. Jamie's really good about it. So
Yeah.
she'll send it over. I will review it that same day for you guys. And then I'm going to send you an email and I'm going to give you a call saying, hey, I just got a copy of your contract. I'm super excited to work with you. Here's what I noticed about it, right? Anything that I might see that's a legal red flag about it, something that might have gotten missed initials wise, things like that. And then I'm going to outline those next steps for you. But the biggest next step is always going to be your home inspection process. So unless you're waiving your home inspection, which is very rare, usually the only time we have folks do that is when they're like flippers or doing it for investment properties. You're going to do a home inspection. You not only have 5 days to get that home inspection done, but you have 5 days to do the home inspection, review it, send me any list of items that you want to ask the seller to fix or address. And then I've got to get a letter out to the seller's attorney containing all of those. So I'm going to have some contract modifications that I'll make just to make the contract a little bit more buyer friendly. I won't bore you guys with the details because like I said, once you get to me, my job is to really keep the transaction together. And that's been a complete shift in the last 2 years, but you guys have worked so hard to find this house and you've worked so hard to get there. My job is to really make sure that you're getting what you want after your home inspection and that what the house you're getting is, you know, at a fair price and that you're getting compensated. So for example, if radon does fail, that you're actually going to get a credit from the seller for radon failing and things like that. So that attorney review letter goes out in the first 5 days. A lot of times buyers are like, I can't get a home inspection done that quickly. That's okay. We can always extend it. If we do extend it, I usually don't recommend it by more than 2 or 3 business days. And especially when the market's really crazy, because you have to remember that the seller just took your offer over 6 other people's offers or 7 other people's offers. They don't want to sit around waiting to see if you're going to ask them for $20,000 in repair credits. They want to know if you're going to move forward with this thing or not. So 2 to 3 days, totally going to be fine. But anything more than that, if you want to try and extend it for a couple of weeks because you're going on vacation, it's not the right time to write an offer. Like, you should be around and be prepared to actually go to your home inspection. So once we get through that, that's, if a deal is going to fall apart when it comes to me, it's going to fall apart probably in that attorney review and home inspection. Assuming that we get past that and, you ask for the seller to fix 7 things and they come back and say, no, but we'll fix these 5. And you say, okay, that's fine with me. We'll close out attorney review and home inspection. Then I'm going to go to reviewing all of the title and making sure that you're actually getting your loan approval from Brent. So I'm going to be checking in with Brent constantly saying, hey, did you do the appraisal yet? How's the appraisal process going? What conditions does our borrower still need to get you? Do you need anything from the seller's attorney about title? Things like that. So we're working together constantly just to make sure that you guys are getting your loan approval, because you have to have that about 1 week prior to the actual closing date. So let's say you want to close at the end of March. We want to make sure that 1 week prior to March 31st, you guys actually have a clear to close or a written approval from Brent saying, yep, we're ready to fund on this loan. I've got all the documents that I need. So we sort of take over the transaction and monitor all of that for you to make sure that you're actually hitting those dates. If for some reason you don't, I have had people, especially with COVID-19, a lot of people who have lost their jobs during the underwriting process and things like that. That's also when attorneys can help you out significantly, getting you out of the contract without having to lose your earnest money and things like that. And then finally, we go to the closing with you. And as of recently, we're the only ones that go. So you're stuck with just me. It used to be a fun party and Jamie would be there and Brent would be there and they'd bring you balloons and all that stuff. And now you're literally just sitting in a room with me and there's usually plexiglass in between us and we have masks on and all of that fun stuff. But I will be there with you at the actual closing table. So we'll go over all the documents that you need to sign. We'll talk about what you're paying for, when your next payment's going to be due, what taxes are, what your real estate tax bill is going to look like, things like that. So you'll never have to actually sign any legal documents without sitting there in front of me and saying, what does this mean, Lauren? I don't understand what the escrow payment is, or something along those lines. So we'll go over all of that stuff with you.
I will say not all attorneys go to closings. I mean,
Yes.
Lauren does, but I've been at closings where, like, we were at a closing, it was in my office and Lauren was the seller's attorney and the buyer's attorney didn't even show up. And she had to like walk the buyers as a courtesy through their paperwork, telling them like where to sign because their attorney like didn't even call. So like, it's really important. You're paying the money. Like, it just, I feel like, because there are mistakes being made. I've had, attorneys catch errors in numbers, obviously not from Brent, but they've caught errors. They've caught the survey that there's encroachment on the survey, that the neighbor's shed is on your property. And what are you going to do about it? And I can't do much in my position, but that's where the attorneys can come in and be like, wait, hold on, like pump your brakes. Like this is an issue and we need to title over that, or we need to talk to the neighbor or something. So
for sure.
One thing I just wanted to touch on really quick, I put it on Lauren's sheet, but like wire fraud is a really important thing for us to talk about, especially if you are sending money. Wire fraud is a real thing. And so you have people probably sitting in a different country. I'm not going to, I won't run any countries under the bus, but it's probably far away from here. And they are watching, they somehow hack into people's emails, and we all have super secure emails, but they will so let's say it's Chicago title, but it might be Chicago title with 2 T's and you never notice it because they hack in at the right moment and they'll say, here's your wiring instructions. And then you're like, oh, okay, great. And then you go wire the money to an account in like Russia. And so now you're like, what am I going to do? How do you get that money back? So you always, a lot of times, all the title companies actually have their wiring instructions like on a public facing site on their website. So you can go and check the Chicago title wiring instructions and make sure it matches what you had. That's one. And then two, you should pick up the phone and call the person you've been speaking with the whole time, Lauren, the title company, and just say, hey, these are the numbers. Is this what you have? Because I haven't had anyone that's wired money, but I've had people close that someone came in the day of closing. They're like, oh, there's been a switch in the wiring. You need to send it here. And we had talked about it. And she's like, wait, hold on, wait a second. Why would it change? And then she called and it was someone and they almost sent the money like to a different country. And then it's a little easier to get it back now. I feel like people are onto it, but it takes days. It would pause your closing. So I always just say, like, don't wire the funds without like just double checking they're going to the place they're supposed to go to. That's important because I don't want any of my clients to lose their hard-earned down payment. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah,
Okay.
to that point, real quick, in Illinois, anything below $50,000, we're going to probably have you get a cashier's check, which is way safer. You go into the bank, you get a cashier's check. Illinois law mandates that once you go to 50,000 or above, you have to wire in your funds. So I can let Lauren talk a little bit more about that if needed, but typically a lot of times getting that cashier's check makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, the cashier's check is just easier in general because it's literally a piece of paper that you hold and you walk into it with the closing and you hand it to me. So you have an actual receipt, whereas wire, it happened, you can initiate it on your phone or you can initiate it at the actual branch. I'm scared to death of wiring and I literally do it for a living. And every time I have to send one, I'm like panicked about it. And I hate calling people. I'm a millennial. So I'm like, can I just text? I don't want to call anyone. I don't want to, but I honestly, like, I will call and verify wire instructions like 5 times and pick up the phone and actually do it. Cause it is extremely scary. But again, you wouldn't get to that. Yeah. You don't get to that process unless you're over $50,000 for closing, meaning, you're putting a substantial amount down or you're buying a relatively expensive house. And then 2, that won't happen until 1 or 2 days before closing. So way down the road.
Then closing day, and we're wrapping up. We're right on time. So this is how we feel. Like we raise our arms and we were like, yes, we did it. And there's transactions that we get to the closing day and we're like, this was a breeze. Like we love those days. We're like, this was the best day ever. And then we get to like transactions where we have like a keg in the parking lot and we're just like drinking because we're like, how did we get here? It was like a fight. Sometimes it's a fight and it's never a fight with us. It's sometimes you just have a seller who's really ornery and doesn't want to do anything. You have sellers who don't close, who don't move out on time. That's a nightmare. I've been there many times where they're like, when we ordered the moving truck, it's going to be here at 8 a.m. I'm like, there's no way you're going to move a 3,000 square foot house and be done by 11 a.m. Like there's no way, but oh no, it'll happen. Oh, then of course it doesn't happen. And then we have to go to Lauren and ask for something called a holdback saying we're going to put some money aside. And then once it's clear, that money will be released to them. But that way they have some skin in the game. So when you schedule the final walkthrough, I like to do it the day of. There are some realtors who like to do it the day before, but I'm like, what if someone comes in the middle of the night and steals all the appliances and we were there the night before? Like we don't have a lot of leeway at that point. So I like to do it right before closing. If closing's at 11, we'll do it about 9:30. We check that the inspection repairs were made. They also provide receipts. So I can't tell if a furnace was cleaned by looking at it, but there's a receipt that we received that we check off the list. The biggest thing I get complaints about is that the house has to be left in broom clean condition. What does that mean? That means like sweeping up the crumbs. It is not, now you have some sellers who will hire a cleaning crew to come in. It's wonderful. I would say that's like, it's not the norm. So they move out and they leave it in broom clean condition. So you might have to clean it when you get there. So I have a great cleaning lady. She can come in and get it clean for you. I mean, some sellers do, it's clean, but just know like your level of cleanliness is not always the same as someone else's. And so sometimes to them, it's really clean. And for you, you're like, I can't stand it. So it just technically legally has to be left in broom clean condition. We have to make sure the sellers have vacated. And what do? We kind of talked about when they haven't. That's not fun. Sometimes they just they just didn't think they had more time. One time we always tell the story to Robert, and Robert, we walked into his house and there was a woman laying on the couch. This is right in Grays Lake. And she's like, I'm not moving today. She's like, I don't feel good. This is before COVID. She's like, I'm not moving. She's like, you can just move in later. He was real laid back. You know who I'm talking about, Brent, I think. Yeah, you worked with Robert. And he's like, and we're like, okay. And so we were like, well, Robert, you got yourself a girlfriend. And like, she stayed there for like another day. And then he like helped her move out that weekend. He's like, I'll help you move out. He was real friendly, but we said, well, you get yourself a girlfriend. So sometimes things happen. Sometimes sellers, like usually if you're selling a house, we usually don't have you go to the closing. Because sellers sometimes say things at closings that are like wrong. They'll be like, oh, well, that child molester moved in next door. Oh, I really hope that didn't happen. And then my buyers are like, what? Or they're like, so that's always, just be prepared. Usually they just pre-sign. So the day of closing, you're going to sign your name like 1,000 times. There's always the story of someone who wrote on his driver's license, like 3 cats as his signature as a joke. But then like when he went to his closing, he had to actually like sign his name as 3 cat faces because that matched his driver's license.
Yep.
So you're sign your name about 1,000 times. But one time an attorney said to me, I was complaining about signing my name. And she's like, Jamie, you're buying a house. And I was like, I am buying a house. Why am I complaining? It's a big deal. And then the last thing is you're going to get the keys. We're going to celebrate. You're welcome to the Hering home family. It's really fun. And then, but there's some things like my job is like, and Lauren has sold with me, but we walk you through the process. Like we didn't talk on here about utilities. You want to have the utilities set up before closing, because the minute that house is in that seller's, those utilities can get shut off. And if that sump pump is raining and that sump pump is not working, you have a flooded basement the day you move in. So you want to make sure you'll have to have your homeowner's insurance ahead of time, because that's part of the paperwork for underwriting. But you want to make sure you've called the utilities. We send you an email that lists all the utilities for whatever town you're buying in. But we want to make sure we don't want surprises where you're like, I'm here, there's no power and it's raining, because that's a scary position to be in. I've been there with that. So that's the end of our presentation. So thank you for joining us. And if you have any chat questions, we will send a follow-up email. I know Brent had a PDF to send you, but if there's any questions you have that you want to, you can put in the chat. We're happy to answer your questions. Or if there's something, I know I talk fast, if there's something that we rushed on, or we felt like we didn't cover, or if you want Brent to go back, just let us know. We are here to help you make this purchase. Or if there's a slide you want me to go to, I don't know if you were able to get the Zen list, just you can type or you can talk. You don't have to type the questions either. You can just put your volume on if you have a question as well. But we'll hang out here for a while. And if you have any questions, feel free to put your volume, you can unmute yourself or ask questions. But I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of an overview about the home buying process. We could talk a lot longer and in more detail, but I wanted you to have an overview is the goal. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add real quick. Hear me?
We can now. Better.
Okay, good. So some of the stuff that Jamie and Lauren, myself, we've talked about, it can sound very scary. We're professionals. We've been doing this a long time. So we've seen a lot of good, bad, and otherwise go on. But most importantly is, I would say 95 to 98% of our transactions go really smoothly, very easily. We take care of all the upfront stuff so that there are no surprises in the 11th hour. We don't see wire fraud a lot. We don't see, 100 pages of, people looking to get, houses, with leaky cracks in the foundations and things like that, right? So even though we mention them, it's not the norm. It's just that we've been around doing it so long that we've come across those things. Typically, we're going to walk you right through those things. Those are all going to be handled for you. And then most importantly, and the last thing I would say is, we're not going anywhere. So once you close on your house, I'm still the lender. You can always ask me questions. Jamie's still always going to be the realtor. You can always ask her questions. And same thing with Lauren and the legal part. All of us are there way beyond the transaction, right? The transaction is the one little function of it, but really you want to be able to have people that you can trust moving forward past that too. So just wanted to add that in.
That's a good point, because I had a buyer, Jeff, I love Jeff. He just sold his house and he could not figure out how to change his air furnace filter. Like it was a tricky one. It wasn't obvious and he couldn't figure it out. And then he's like, can I ask the home inspector? So he had used Jay Miles, which is one of the home inspectors we use. And Jay went in there and was able to FaceTime him, was like, okay, this one's tricky. You got to turn this. But it was way after the transaction, but he's like, I can't figure it out. And Jay's like, I got it. And Jay went in there and helped him. So sometimes I feel like all of us are here to help you. And everyone jokes that I have I got a guy list. And I do. I just have, if you need a painter, a contractor, a cleaning lady, a window cleaner, I got it all. I have a very long list of contractors that I've used for a long time.
So were there any questions out there, James?
No questions. And
actually, hi, I have a
we
question.
do have one. That's Maya. Hi, Maya.
Hi. So this is about the pre-qualification. So in the past 2 years, I have a full-time job, but I've also had 3 part-time jobs that all required W-2s and pay stubs. And I know that you guys say that we need to have pay stubs or any other documents, but if we're not able to provide those, will that be a huge deterrent or anything like that?
So are you asking if you don't have them accessible?
Yeah, if
conversation?
Yes.
No, it's not a deterrent at all. What it does is it just leaves remember, so when we talk, I'm taking everything for face value, right? So if I say, how much do you make? And you say $50,000, I assume you make $50,000. But if you make $50,000 and you're a self-employed realtor and you write off 30,000, well, then we can only qualify you with $20,000 worth of income. And so that's where it's my job to make sure that we're actually looking at the income the right way. Okay. So it's not that it's a deterrent. It's just that it's a lot more difficult to get you 100% accurate findings when we're going through that pre-approval stage.
Oh,
Does
okay.
that...
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
And real quick, Maya, one last question there. You had said multiple other jobs. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I had in the past 2 years, I have a full-time job, and then I just had a few side jobs just for some extra income.
Gotcha. So, and that's why you're gonna want to have that conversation in advance, because in order to use a second job, I have to have a 2-year history of you receiving income from those other jobs, which in some cases, I have some nurses that work in multiple different other places for 5-10 hours a week. And then they're full-time at North Shore or Northwestern Medicine or something like that. We're going to use the income from the W-2 full-time job, and then whatever we can show a 2-year history of also having, we're going to utilize that income as well. Okay.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Sure. Great question.
Okay.
Anybody else?
A few more on, but I'll wait. Well, we're just going to hang out here.
One of the things here, this is our 5th year doing this, James. A lot of people if you guys are I just want to have that question, but maybe this isn't the right form. When we hang up, guys, everybody is free to reach out to us. You can call, text, email anytime. I always give out my personal cell phone number. You can call me, text me, email me day, night, weekend. I know Jamie's accessible that way. Maybe Lauren not so much because she's in closings all day.
About to have a baby.
Right. But we work when you guys need us to work, and that's the most important thing. So do not hesitate to reach out with questions, because I'm going to be able to answer these questions really quickly, where it may be festering in your brain oh, I heard this from my friend, or my dad said this, or my friends bought a home and they had this obstacle, right? come to the person that's going to have the answers.
Yeah,
100
I'll follow up this with a thank you, and then I'll put Brent's information in there and Lauren and then mine. That way you don't have to worry about taking it down right now.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it was
thank
great.
you guys for joining. I know it was short and sweet, but that's the goal, is that we're trying to, my goal is that if you want to buy a house, we can walk you through it and make it happen. And it's fun. I don't know. I'm the fun one. I like to celebrate and have a good time doing it. These two get to do the hard, heavy lifting, detail oriented work, but we get to do the fun and like go. It's like you get your own little HGTV show. So it'll be
We
a good
all have,
time.
all of us.
We all have fun. Mine is the most fun.
All right,
well,
guys.
thank you
Thanks so much.
guys.
Have
We're
a
gonna
great,
hang out here and then go ahead and you can exit, but I will follow up with an email with all our contact information.
thanks, Jamie.
You're
Thanks, Lauren.
welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Gonna end the meeting.